Good evening, Doc Bellas, and good evening, classmate. This is Group 9, the teacher as an EDI Champion report. EDI stands for Equity, Diversity, in Inclusion are not optional extras. They shape whether every student can access learning, belong in school, and succeed. When teachers understand their rules and responsibility in EDI, they design fair learning pathways, reduce barriers, and model the respect just society we want students to inhabit. Knowing EDI deeply improves academic outcomes, classroom climate, fair family trust, and teachers' professional effectiveness. First one, rules of teacher in EDI as educator of equity, actively ensuring fair access to resources, opportunity, and support so students with different backgrounds and needs can achieve comparable outcomes. Equity, unlike equality, requires different support for different learners. Teachers who understand equity can identify and correct structural or classroom level barriers that leave some students behind. So practical use or practical action use differentiated instruction like Barry tasks, scaffolds, assessment format, monitoring assessment data, disaggregated by groups like gender, language, special needs, and act of disparities. Provide targeted intervention like tutoring, modified assignment, and flexible times. So next one is the champion of diversity, recognizing, valuing, and integrating a wide range of cultural identities, language, and abilities, gender, and perspective into teaching. Diverse classrooms are rich in learning environment, but only if diversity is visible, respected, and pedagogically leveraged. Students learn better when they see their identities reflected in curriculum and feel their perspective matter. For practical action, I included text example in histories from varied cultures and point of view. I use also student background as an asset, allowing them to bring knowledge from home into projects. Also celebrate multiple way of knowing and expression like oral history, visual projects, and multilingual responses. The next one is the facilitator of inclusion. Designing a classroom condition in which every student participate meaningfully, socially, and emotionally, and academically. Inclusion is about belonging. Without intentional of facilitation, some students are marginalized. Like yung mga shy student, learning with disabilities, newcomers, yung mga ganyang instances sa aking classroom, lagi ko silang ini-encourage na magsagot, lalo na yung mga shy student. Then, we need to hear your voices so we might be able, if you are learning something new sa ating mga lesson, or if you have clarification, ini-encourage ko po talaga sila na sumagot at magbigay ng ideas na in a way na hindi sila mahihiya, hindi sila mapapahiya. I also give instruction to the class na wag kayong magtatawa if your classmate answered this way kasi yun yung kanyang point of view. We need to respect them as well. So in practical action, I uses cooperative learning structures that ensure all voices are heard. May mga structured rules, think, fair, share, ganon. May mga ganong example akong pinapagawa sa kanila. By pair sila, peer sharing, ayan. Arrange physical spaces and routines that accommodate varied needs like sitting, sensory breaks, ayan. Implement multiple ways to represent, engage, and express learning based on what they learned doon sa lesson namin that day. Next one is advocate of human rights. Protecting student dignity rights, safety, non-discrimination, freedom of expression, and teaching these values. Schools are sites where civic values are formed. Teachers who understand human rights principles can respond to bullying, discrimination, and fair policies and teach students how to stand up for rights. I also enforce anti-bullying, no bullying inside and outside classroom and compound, and as well kung nasaan kayo man, and anti-discrimination policy fairly. I also teach age-appropriate lesson on rights and responsibilities. I support students who face injustices and connect families with resources if needed. Lagi ko silang binibigyan ng clear and applied policy. Student know how to report abuse. Teacher act as liaison for vulnerable student. Next one is the collaborator with communities. Working with families, local groups, and services to support student holistically. Learning doesn't stop at classroom door. Partnership increase cultural relevance, resources, and trust essential when addressing equity gaps. For practical action, I regularly two-way communication with the families, not just one-way notices. Partner with community organization for tutoring help or language support. Sometimes may mga pumupunta sa aming school from PHSA. Nagkakandak sila ng mga activities, workshop, acting, singing, drama, and etc. Yung PHSA is Philippine High School for the Arts yan. Bumibisit sila sa amin para yung mga estudyante ko ay turuan ng workshop, acting, mga ganun. So, active family involvement, effective referrals for local services, community voices present in school events. The next one is role model of inclusive values, demonstrating respect, humility, curiosity, and willingness to learn from others. Student learn social norm by watching adult like us. The way we act, the way paano tayo mag-dress up, paano tayo mag-handle ng situation, paano tayo humarap sa kanila. A teacher's behavior set at the standard for classroom interaction and how difference is treated. Use inclusive language. I also use inclusive language and correct bias remarks immediately and constructively. Admit mistake and model how to repair them. Show curiosity about student cultures and experiences. Classroom norms reflect respect student, emulate inclusive language. Teacher reflection visible in practice. The last one in the role of teacher in EDI is the lifelong learning. Continuously updating knowledge and skill about effective EDI practices, law, pedagogy, and cultural competence. Even up to now, sinasabi ko sa kanila, I am already a teacher teaching you, but then, nag-aaral pa rin ako. Kasi, I want to update knowledge. I want to gain more knowledge. Kasi sinasabi ko sa kanila, guys, student, my dear student, if you have knowledge, you have power. Lagi kong sinasabi yan sa kanila. EDA is not static. Research, law, and community needs evolve. Teacher who keep learning stay effective and credible. So, Diyos ko, sobrang dami ng mga workshop na pinuntahan ko, seminars, paano magturo, paano gumawa ng mga iba't ibang lesson plan. Yan, lahat yan binibigay na, lahat pinrovide na and able for us para matutunan namin yun at ma-integrate namin, magamit namin sa pagtuturo na magiging effective kami. Yung lahat ng lesson makukonsume ng mga estudyante namin at matututo sila. So, I read, also attend workshop, read current research, ganyan, and participate in learning communities. Reflect on bias and seek feedback from peers and student. Kahit ako, nung nag-demo ako sa CO1 ko at CO2, laging yung master teacher namin, yung principal, ganito ang gagawin, may advices sila. So, tinitake ko yon as in a positive way. Kahit na may mga negative, positive pa rin ako. Kasi nga, syempre, napagdaanan na nila yon, they learn from it. So, yung mga natutunan nila, they just transferred. Just like Doc Belas, Doc Diaz, marami silang mga natutunan. They went into different schools mga research, mga workshop, yung lahat ng kanilang natutunan binibigay din sa atin at the same time para matuto tayo at ma-apply din natin yung mga natutunan nila na magagamit natin sa ating pagtuturo. So, pilot nyo inclusive strategies in evaluate the outcomes. So, ongoing professional development, change classroom practices bias based on new learning, engagement in reflective cycles. Ayan. So, next one is the responsibilities of teacher in EDI. Now, the active responsibility teachers must carry out to make those rules real. First, instructional responsibility. Designing curriculum and instruction to content is accessible, relevant, and equitable. Instruction is where equity meets learning. Without adopting instruction, differences in background and ability translate directly into unequal outcomes. So, teacher must use the following. Use formative assessment to inform instruction, modify phase and complexity. Provide multiple entry points and outputs like gagamit ng UDL principles, universal design learning. Ayan, and then design culturally responsive lesson that connect to student lives. Yan, lagi ko tong ginagamit. Nagpapaano pa nga ako eh. So, kaya yung mga learning na tinuturo ko sa kanila, mga lesson, hindi nila makalimutan kasi it always connected to them. Kaya nakaka-relate sila. So, concrete classroom example is yung I offer the same core task with scaffolds, simplified text, vocabulary support for some, enrichment projects for others. Yun yung mga example na ginagawa ko at relate naman sila doon. So, next one is the classroom environment. Create a safe, respectful, and accessible physical and emotional space. Guys, ito talaga lagi kong naka-implement. Always implemented din yung pagiging respectful, dapat safe yung classroom namin, accessible with physical and emotional space. So, kasi I do believe that a positive environment reduces anxiety, increases engagement, and prevent exclusionary incident. Practical steps na ginagawa ko, I set clear core created norms for respect and participation. Ensure classroom materials reflect diverse identities and make physical adjustment for accessibility. Seating plans, quiet corners, and also sa classroom mayroon din akong prayer room. Every time na magkakaroon kami ng hindi magandang ini-encourage ko sila, o sige, dahil gumawa ka ng hindi maganda, you need to confess your sin to God. Kasi hindi naman ako si God. Iko-confess mo kay God lahat doon. So, pupunta ka doon sa prayer room and then doon ka magme-meditate. Once you are done, pwede ka nang mag-come out and babalik ka na uli sa classroom natin. Sa upuan mo para magsimula uli ng ating lesson at makinig uli kay teacher. So, routine check-in circles where student share feelings. May mga ganito din ako sa classroom. Seating arrangement that support peer scaffolding. May mga ganyan ako kapag ka maiingay na, pinagrarambol-rambol ko yung mga magkakalapit. So, para hindi sila nagkakaingay. So, next one is support for learners with special needs. Oo, napakahirap nito. I've been tutoring student with special needs. Talagang struggle ko. So, recognizing, identifying, and providing appropriate accommodation, modification, and collaboration with specialists. Many students need adjustment to access learning. The teacher is often the first to notice and coordinate to support. Screen and refer student for evaluation when needed. May ganito akong estudyante, meron siyang minor na dyslexia. Yung mga words niya, I think yung mga letters niya, nababaliktad niya na he might be able to read. Kaya pala nahihirapan siyang bumasa. Kahit paulit-ulit na kami, hindi niya nababasa kasi nga yung mga letters, nung pinasulat ko siya is baliktad. Like yung B, dapat dito sa right yung pa-B niya. Pero dun sa left na papapunta. So, na-discover ko yun. Then, I also informed the principal and also the teacher. The principal, after that, nagkaroon kami ng evaluation and then sinabi namin yung aking nakita dun sa student and then ni-refer namin siya sa So, ni-refer namin siya sa treatment na kung saan matitreat yung kanyang difficulties in letters. Next one is the family and community engagement. Actively involving families and community resources in student learning and decision making. Family engagement boosts attendance, behavior, and learning gains, especially for marginalized students who may distrust institution. May mga ganito kaming instances yung estudyante namin nagsasabi na hindi yata ako mahal ni mommy and daddy kasi every time na mayroong event ang school, magpe-perform siya, yung estudyante wala yung kanyang mga magulang like yung mother and father hindi nakaka-attend ng mga big event ng school na kasama yung bata. So he feel na parang hindi siya love ng kanyang mga magulang. So pag mga ganon, ina-advise na lang namin sa your mother is very busy, your parents is very busy working just to provide everything you needed. Kaya nga, yun. So, may mga ganito kasing pagkakataon. Pero yung mga parents na, yung mga estudyante na laging present yung kanilang mga family sa kanila, ay mas maano yung performance in academic. Kasi they are confident, yan. So, also yung attendance hindi pala absent, mga ganon. So, and then the practical steps na ginagawa ko naman is I develop communication method that respect family language and schedule. Every time na may activity kami, ahead of time, 2 days before the activity, I already announce in our GC with Canva template and like for example, may mga event kami, ano yung mga kailangang dalhin, ano yung mga kailangang i-prepare at para saan yung activity na yan at ano yung subject na anchor doon sa activity na gagawin namin. Next one is professional growth and advocacy. Continuously improving EDI practices and advocating for policies and resources that support equitable education. Classroom change is necessary but insufficient. System change requires teachers' voice. Professional growth keeps practice current and effective. Join professional networks and training on EDI. Advocate for resources allocation. Ito yung mga practical step na ginagawa ko. Kaya nga, Diyos ko, yung mga certificate ko sobrang kapal. So, ayan. Pumupunta kami sa mga seminar, workshop, tinuturuan kung paano mag-demo, paano deliberate ng lesson sa science, ano yung mga possible at much more effective way na gagamitin na lesson plan para dun sa subject na yon. So, yon, napakaganda na ang teacher is updated sa mga ganitong pagkakataon sa mga seminar, training, workshop para mas maging effective siya na ma-deliver lahat ng lesson na matututunan ng mga bata in an easy way na mabilis mauunawaan nila. So, for the final, I may say that when teacher know these rules and responsibility, classroom become places where every child can learn without being limited by background, language, ability, or identity. EDI aware teaching transforms school from gatekeepers into gateway to knowledge, dignity, and future opportunities. So, yun po yung aking report. Thank you po and good evening sa ating lahat.
Good evening, everyone. Now we have here the culturally responsive and anti-biased pedagogy, where it also guides EDI teachers in building a classroom where every learner feels valued and supported. This framework is organized into two domains that work together to promote inclusion and equity. So first, we have the culturally responsive pedagogy. We begin with the first domain, which focuses on honoring students' identities. So we have here the valuing cultural assets. So where the teachers recognize students' cultures and experiences as strengths and include them in lessons. From here, the framework moves to what students learn. We have the inclusive curriculum, where the teaching materials include diverse voices and perspective. Next, it emphasizes how teachers teach. So we have here the third one, the responsive instruction, where the teachers set high expectations while providing equitable support. And this domain also extends beyond the classroom. So we have here the family and community engagement. where the teachers collaborate with families and community members to enrich learning. And finally, it centers students' empowerment. So we have here the student voice and agency, where the students are encouraged to express identity and lead parts of their learning. Then transitioning to the second domain, the focus shifts from cultural responsiveness to addressing bias and promoting fairness. So first, we have here the awareness of bias. Teachers reflect on their own biases and recognize systematic inequities. And building on this awareness, we have the second one, the equitable practices, where the rules, discipline, and grading are applied fairly. And the framework also highlights representation, where it we have the inclusive resources, where the classroom materials affirm diverse identities and avoid stereotypes. And to model the values being taught, we have the fourth one, the modeling respect and empathy, where the teachers use inclusive language and correct biased remarks. And lastly, this domain encourages action. So we have here the student advocacy and social justice, where the students learn to challenge bias and engage in social justice efforts. So altogether, these two domains help EDI teachers create a learning environment where diversity is celebrated, equity is ensured, and students are empowered to advocate for fairness and justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Soriano. Hello, everyone. I'm Angela Grace Valle, and this time I'll discuss the professional development and capacity building of teachers as an EDI champion. Professional development for teachers in EDI focuses on improving teaching methods and creating a more inclusive school culture. Effective training moves beyond simple awareness to offer practical strategies that address systemic inequalities and support the diverse needs of students. It involves strategic programs and initiatives to foster a more inclusive workplace culture, leading to increased innovation, employee engagement, and better business performance. Here are the key components of effective EDI professional development. Deepening ETI knowledge and practice. Developing an inclusive curriculum. This includes the need for teachers to undergo trainings to understand and support the diverse needs, abilities, and backgrounds of all students. Fostering an inclusive classroom environment. Teachers learn how to create a supportive environment and ensure fairness and justice is received by every individual inside the classroom. Incorporating diverse teaching methods. Trainings help teachers implement practices and methods that promotes equity and inclusivity in the classroom, giving all students equal opportunities and access to quality education. Improving communication and collaboration. EDI creates opportunities for teachers to share best practices, provide clear support, and foster collaboration. And lastly, establishing school-wide practices. Through EDI, the school trains teachers to effectively drive the implementation of equity and inclusion practices throughout the school. For teachers and the school, EDI training can result in higher retention rates, enhanced school culture, and enhanced teaching skills. For higher retention rates, when teachers feel supported and equipped to meet the diverse needs of their students, they experience a stronger sense of purpose and fulfillment in their work. Professional development and EDI initiatives provide educators with the knowledge and tools needed to effectively handle classroom challenges, making them feel more confident and valued in their roles. As a result, teachers are more likely to remain in their positions, reducing turnover rates and contributing to the overall stability and consistency of the school environment. Enhanced school culture. EDI training promotes a culture of respect and understanding among staff and students. When both staff and students are aware of the importance of diversity and inclusion, it leads to improved relationships and communication within the school community. This positive environment encourages collaboration, acceptance, and mutual support, where everyone feels safe, respected, and included regardless of background, ability, or identity. Enhanced teaching skills. Teachers may develop inclusive, interesting, and student-centered learning experiences by learning new teaching tactics and practices through EDI training. They acquire the skills necessary to differentiate instruction, employ culturally sensitive teaching strategies, and modify classes to accommodate different learning requirements and styles. This guarantees that every student has an equal chance to succeed in addition to raising the standard of instruction. Capacity building, empowering others for collective impact. Being an EDI champion isn't about working in isolation. As I've mentioned earlier, Teacher as an EDI champion promotes peer support and collaboration. It's about building collective capacity by sharing best practices with colleagues through mentorship or co-planning, fostering discussions in the classroom about privilege, power, and identity, aligning school-wide EDI goals through cross-functional collaboration, example with the administration, support staff, and families, to align school-wide EDI goals, and modeling inclusive leadership, encouraging others to reflect, grow, and take initiative. That would be all for the professional development and capacity building. The next part will be reported by Gurpreet.
Good day, everyone. Today I will be discussing two essential elements in education: curriculum design and classroom practices, which are foundational to creating an effective and inclusive learning environment. First, let's explore curriculum design, which is essential for shaping how we deliver content to students. Several key principles must guide the design process. So the first bullet is accessibility and flexibility. It's important to give students the ability to shape their learning experience. When students can engage with the material in a way that fits their individual needs and interests, their learning becomes more meaningful. The second is clear learning outcomes and competency standards. Learning outcomes should be clear, achievable, and aligned with well-defined competencies. This ensures both students and teachers know the goals and what is expected by the end of the course. The third bullet is equality, diversity, and inclusion. The curriculum should ensure that all students have equitable opportunities to succeed, regardless of their background or abilities. It's crucial to design with diversity in mind so that every student feel represented and supported. The fourth one is addressing biases. Educators need to reflect on their own unconscious biases, which may unintentionally influence the curriculum. Awareness of these biases is essential to create a truly inclusive environment that values all perspectives. So the fifth bullet is the opportunities for students to co-creation. Involving students in the creation of their learning pathways not only empowers them, but also fosters greater engagement. So when students have a say in their curriculum, the learning process becomes more relevant to their lives. And the last bullet is the course content that explores diversity. Lastly, integrating content that reflects diversity and global perspectives is essential. By exploring themes of equality, diversity, and cultural relativity, we help students develop a broader understanding of the world around them. Okay, so for the next is the classroom practices. Now let's move on to the classroom practices, which are the strategies used to bring curriculum to life. So here are some key practices. The first one is the cooperative teaching. Teachers benefit from working together, sharing expertise, and collaborating with external professionals. This collaborative approach enriches the learning environment and contributes to professional growth for educators. The second one is cooperative learning. Encouraging peer-to-peer learning in a well-planned group setting enhances students' learning. So, when students work together, they reinforce their understanding and build valuable communication and teamwork skills. The third one is collaborative problem solving. So, a structured approach to problem solving helps reduce classroom disruptions and provide clear guidelines for managing student behavior. So, I believe this method is especially beneficial for students facing behavioral challenges. The fourth bullet is the heterogeneous grouping. So, when mixing students of different abilities, it allows for varied teaching methods and ensures that all students have the opportunity to learn. So, this inclusive practice fosters a more dynamic classroom environment. And the last one is effective teaching. Teaching should be tailored to meet each student's unique needs. This includes setting clear expectations, providing regular feedback, and supporting individualized learning plans, especially for students with special educational needs. So, in conclusion, both curriculum design and classroom practices are essential in fostering an inclusive and effective learning environment. By focusing on flexible curriculum design, addressing diversity and bias, and applying effective teaching strategies like cooperative learning and problem solving, we can create a supportive educational experience for all students. So, by continuously reflecting on and improving our practices, we ensure that we are not only meeting academic standards, but also preparing students for a future that values diversity, inclusion, and collaboration. That's all for my part. Thank you so much.
I will briefly talk about the essential roles of teachers in advocacy, collaboration, and continuous improvement within our school and communities. First, teacher advocacy. Teacher play a vital role in promoting exclusive practices in school. This means ensuring that our curriculum, activities, and learning environment responds to the diverse needs of all learners, regardless of background, gender, or ability. But by advocating for exclusive curriculum and teaching strategies, we help create classrooms where every learner feels valued and supported. Teachers also participate in policy discussion, providing insight from real classroom experiences. Our voice matters in shaping decisions that directly affects teaching and learning. Second one, teacher collaboration. The teacher grow and improve when we work together. Through professional development and teacher education reforms, we continuously strengthen our knowledge and skills. Upskilling allow us to keep up with new approaches, technologies, and teaching methods that enhance student learning. We also build community partnership, working with parents, local organizations, and stakeholders to support learners more effectively. These linkages helps us to promote child protection safely and well-being both inside and outside the classroom. And lastly, monitoring and improvement. Teacher helps monitor progress, practices, and policies within the school by observing what works and what needs attention. We can recommend improvements that make education more responsive and effective. Our feedback contributes to better school policies, stronger support system, and more exclusive learning culture. So, in summary, teachers are not only educators, we are also advocates for inclusion, collaboration in professional growth, and partners in continuous school improvement. By fulfilling these rules, we can help create learning environments where every student has the opportunity to succeed. I would like to talk about the policy, the importance of the role of teacher in policy engagement and how our involvement strengthen the education system. So, teacher play a key role in active participation in school policy, just like what I've said in a while ago dito sa teacher as essential rules in advocacy and collaboration and continuous improvement, that the teachers play a vital role in promoting exclusive practices in school. So, because we work directly with the learners every day, we understand their needs, challenges, and strength. Our insight helps ensure that the school policies are practical, achievable, and truly supportive of learning student. So, another important responsibility in advocating for exclusive and gender responsive education is we make sure that the policy upholds fairness, respect, and equal opportunity for all learners regardless of gender background or ability. Pero minsan 'di ba nung natatandaan ko pag nung estudyante pa ako, kadalasan pag like for example sa nung elementary ako, tumataas naman yung kamay ko. Pero since yung isang estudyante kilala siya nung teacher kasi yung nanay niya teacher din, madalas siya yung tinatawag na sumagot kahit na syempre mayroon alam ko din yung sagot. May mga gano'n na natatandaan ako na kung sino yung anak ng teacher, na kako-teacher niya, mas lagi silang yung laging tinatawag para magsagot, mag-recitation, ganun. So, kaya nga dito sa pinag-aaralan natin sa EDI, napaka-importante talaga nito yung equity, diversity, and inclusive. So, through our advocacy, we help create learning environment where every child feels safe, valued, and respected. So, teacher also contribute by sharing classroom realities in policy forums. When we bring actual experiences, success stories, and challenges to policy discussion, we help decision makers understand what is happening on the ground. This allows for better, more informed policies that are responsive to real needs. So, policy engagement are also requires collaboration with stakeholders. Teacher work together with school leaders, parents, community members, and local organization to ensure that the policy are implemented correctly and effectively. This shared responsibility builds stronger support system for our learners. So, ayan. Finally, teacher take part in monitoring and recommending policy improvements. By observing how policy work inside the classroom, we can also identify what needs adjustment and what should be strengthened. So this helps school continuously evolve and improve. So in essence, school-based policy implementation is not just about following rules. It is about making sure policies truly work for learners we serve. With active teacher involvement, policy becomes more meaningful and responsive and more impactful. So that could be the end of my report. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I will be reporting on collaboration with stakeholders and why it plays a very important role in education. So, education is not the responsibility of teachers alone for a child to truly succeed. Different people must work together, and these people are what we call stakeholders. As teachers, we cannot carry the whole responsibility of a child's growth. Instead, we need to collaborate with parents, administrators, and the community and even the government offices to give our students the best support possible. So, what are the stakeholders? So, there are several groups of stakeholders in education. So, the first is the students. So, they are the center of learning Everything that we do is for their growth and success. Next, parents and families. So they are the first teachers at home, so they provide guidance, discipline, and encouragement. Next, the school administrators. So the school administrators, so they are the so they are help implement programs that provide leadership and ensures that teachers are supported. Next, community leaders and organizations. So they connect the school to cultural values, traditions, and even resources such as sponsorships or materials. Next, the government or the policymaker. So they create laws, provide funding, and set the standard for the schools. So why is collaboration important? So collaboration with stakeholders is important for the several reasons. First is the shared responsibility. So teachers are not alone in helping students. Parents and the community share this role. So we have a teachers, parents, and the community. Next, resource sharing. So schools sometimes lack materials. So the community partnerships can provide assistance. Next, consistency of values. So when parents, schools, and the communities work together, students receive the same guidance both at home and in school. Last one is the holistic development. So the holistic development is the collaboration ensures that we support not only academics but also the social, emotional, and the moral growth of the learners. So now let's go to the teacher's role in collaboration. So the teachers has a big responsibility in connecting all the stakeholders. Our roles include first is the communicator. So the communicator updating parents about their child's progress through meetings, messages, or conferences. Next, bridge builder. So, linking the schools to the community by inviting resource persons or organizing community based projects. Third, facilitator. So, involving parents and partners in school events like PETA performances, outreach programs, and cultural activities. And the last one is the advocate. So raising student needs to administrators or government offices so that proper support is given. For example, we have PETA in our subject na MAPE. So the parents they can help to prepare costumes. So hindi kaya ni teacher lahat yung gagawin. So now here are the teachers can help prepare costume or props. The barangay or community leaders can allow the use of the barangay hall for practices. The school can provide sound system or space, and the teachers will guide the students in practicing and performing. So this what real collaboration looks like. Each stakeholders has a role that supports the learners. Okay, so in conclusion, collaboration with stakeholders is a key to student success. The teachers acts as the bridge and leader of this collaboration. But the real strength comes with everyone with when everyone works together. Students, parents, colleagues, community, and government. With strong collaborations, our learners receive not just education but also guidance, support, and opportunities for their total development. Thank you, and that ends my report on collaboration with stakeholders.
Good evening, Doc Pelas and classmates. As continuation of our group's presentation, I'll be discussing the barriers and challenges faced by EDI Champion teachers. So equity, diversity, and inclusion, or EDI champions, work to make learning environments fair, welcoming, and responsive to all students. However, their efforts often encounter multiple barriers that come from the institution, the community, and even their own personal circumstances. The image highlights some major categories of challenges. The first one is the institutional and structural challenges. So these challenges come from the systems, policies, and organizational structures of schools. So we have the lack of administrative support. Teachers may struggle when school leaders do not prioritize EDI. Without backing, such as approvals, resources, or encouragement, the initiatives fail to gain momentum or be sustained. The next one is policy gaps. Some schools lack clear EDI aligned policies, examples on inclusion, anti-bias practices, multicultural curriculum. This leaves teachers without guidelines, making implementation inconsistent. Then we have the limited resources. Insufficient funding, materials, training, or personnel can hinder teachers from developing inclusive activities, differentiated instruction, or culturally responsive programs. Then we have the rigid curriculum standards. Strict or outdated curricula can limit teachers' ability to adapt lessons to students' diverse needs, cultures, and identities, making inclusive teaching harder to integrate. So the next one, we have the social and cultural challenges. These obstacles arise from the beliefs, attitudes, and dynamics among students, parents, or the wider community. Then we have the resistance to change. Not everyone welcomes EDI efforts. Some colleagues or parents may feel uncomfortable with new practices and oppose changes to traditional norms. Then, the cultural misunderstandings. Differences in language, costumes, or worldviews can lead to miscommunication or conflict. Teachers must constantly navigate and clarify these differences to maintain harmony. Then we have the community pushback. Some communities question or reject discussions about diversity and inclusion. This can create tension and discourage teachers from addressing important issues. Then the next one, we have the personal and emotional challenges. These reflect the internal pressures teachers experience while advocating for EDI. So we have the emotional labor. EDI work requires empathy, patience, and sensitivity, often leading to emotional exhaustion as teachers manage students' needs, biases, or conflicts. Then we have the isolation. Teachers championing EDI sometimes feel alone, especially when colleagues do not share the same commitment. This lack of peer support can be discouraging. Then the last one, balancing roles. Teachers must juggle EDI responsibilities with instructional duties, administrative tasks, and personal life. This balancing act increases stress and burnout risk. So overall, EDI champion teachers play a crucial role in promoting fairness and inclusivity, but they face systemic barriers, community level resistance, and personal emotional strain. Addressing these challenges requires support from school leadership, collaborative community engagement, and resources that empower teachers to sustain meaningful equity-driven practices. So the next slide will be presented by Sir Melchizedek Zita. Thank you.
Good evening, Doc Bellas. Good evening, everyone. For the continuation of our report, Barriers and Challenges Faced by EDI Champion Teachers, the next one we have Professional Development and Knowledge Gaps. Equity, diversity, and inclusion is a complex and evolving area, and many teachers face challenges in acquiring and applying the necessary skills and knowledge. We have here the first one, insufficient training. Many EDI champion teachers lack formal training or access to workshops that focus on inclusive teaching, cultural sensitivity, or managing diverse classrooms. Without this preparation, teachers may feel unsure about how to address issues like discrimination, accessibility, or unconscious bias. Continuous professional learning is essential to strengthen competence and confidence in these areas. The next one, we have evolving issues. The landscape of diversity and inclusion is constantly changing. New understandings of gender identity, disability, neurodiversity, and socioeconomic inequalities emerge over time. This requires teachers to engage in ongoing learning to stay updated and responsive. However, balancing this with other teaching responsibilities can be difficult, leading to gaps in understanding or outdated practices. The last one are uncertainty in implementation. Even when teachers understand EDI principles, they may struggle with how to apply them effectively in the classroom. For instance, how to adapt lesson plans for diverse learners, ensure fair participation, or create an inclusive environment may not always be clear. This uncertainty can cause hesitation or inconsistent practice among teachers who want to help but lack concrete strategies. The next one, we have measuring impact and progress. Monitoring the effectiveness of EDI initiatives is another major challenge. It's not always easy to quantify or evaluate inclusivity and equity in education. We have here the first one, lack of metrics. There are limited tools or standardized indicators to measure the impact of EDI programs. Schools may not have systems for collecting data on inclusiveness, student belonging, or equal participation, making it hard to show concrete results. The next one, slow change. Cultural and systemic transformation doesn't happen overnight. ADI champion teachers often invest time and effort without seeing immediate outcomes. This can be frustrating and lead to discouragement, especially when progress feels invisible or acknowledged. The next one, invisible successes. Some of the most meaningful EDI achievements are intangible, such as improved student confidence, a more respectful classroom culture, or better peer relationships. These successes may go unnoticed because they are not easily documented or measured through academic performance alone. With all these barriers and challenges, we have here the strategies to overcome these challenges. To effectively sustain EDI efforts and overcome the above barriers, teachers can consider the following approaches. The first one, we have build alliances. Collaborate with other teachers and staff who share similar advocacy goals. Creating a network of EDI advocates strengthens morale and makes initiatives more sustainable. Next, seek professional development. Attend workshops, seminars, or online courses focused on inclusive education. Regular learning helps teachers stay current with EDI concepts and effective classrooms practices. The third one, engage school leadership. Communicate with administrators to gain institutional backing, resources, and recognition for EDI efforts. Leadership support is key to scaling up inclusive initiatives. The next one, advocate for policy reform. Work towards integrating EDI principles into school policies, curriculum frameworks, and staff training programs to ensure systemic support for inclusion. Next one, practice self care. ADI work can be emotionally demanding. Teachers must prioritize their well being, set healthy boundaries, and manage workloads to avoid burnout. And lastly, use data and stories. Gather qualitative and quantitative evidence such as student feedback, participation rates, or classroom observations to demonstrate progress. Sharing success stories can inspire others and highlight the real impact of ADI initiatives. In conclusion, despite these barriers, ADI champions remain essential agents of positive transformation in schools. By building strong support networks, advocating for institutional commitment, and practicing continuous learning, teachers can strengthen their capacity to lead meaningful change. Recognizing their efforts and providing the necessary resources not only empowers educators but ensures that students benefit from an inclusive, equitable learning experience. In the end, fostering ADI is not the responsibility of one person. It is a collective commitment with shared effort, sustained support, and intentional action. Schools can create learning spaces where diversity is celebrated, equity is upheld, and inclusions become a lived reality for all. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Today I'll be discussing about reflective practice, the core of inclusive leadership. Let me begin with a few simple yet powerful questions. Have you ever looked back on a decision and wondered if it unintentionally excluded someone? Have you ever caught yourself holding on an assumption about a group of people and later realized it wasn't accurate? Or perhaps you received feedback that challenged you, feedback that made you pause and rethink your approach. These questions may feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort is not a threat. It is actually an invitation because these are the very questions that open the door to reflective practice. In today's world, true leadership requires more than strategies or plan. It calls for a deep, continuous commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, or EDI. In our Shaping Futures discussion last October 2 on micro-credentials, we were reminded that education for all is a legal right. And if we dare to reimagine and even flip our traditional approaches, we can transform the quality of education we offer. However, none of this transformation can happen without reflections. Leaders must be willing to look at both sides of the coin, to question assumptions, and to examine the practices that may unintentionally exclude or disadvantage others. So, what is exactly reflective practice? Reflective practice serve as a powerful lens that enables leaders to critically examine their actions, decisions, and underlying beliefs. Through this process, they can identify biases, challenge inequities, and make more inclusive choices. Ultimately, reflective practice fosters environments where every individual feels valued, respected, and a true sense of belonging. As what John Dewey had mentioned, we do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. Therefore, reflective practice is not just a thinking. It is a deliberate, intentional process of asking, like, why did things unfold the way they did? Or how might I respond differently next time? There are two kinds or key kinds of reflection: the reflection on action, which is after the event. It is like thinking back on what happened, like when we review our lesson with our student. The second one is reflection in action. It means that a reflection that occur while the event is happening. It is adjusting in the moment, such as when a teacher modify the instruction or the students or the strategies when students look confused. There are several reasons why is reflective practice important. First, it promotes self-awareness. It helps us recognize our strengths and weaknesses, and most importantly, our biases, those invisible beliefs that shapes our decision. Second, it encourages continuous improvement. Reflection turns mistakes into lessons and successes into best practices. Third, it strengthens decision making. As the saying goes, the best decisions are not born from impulse, but from quiet reflection. By understanding what worked and what didn't, we make better choices in the future. Fourth, it connects theory to practice. It helps us bridge what we learn in trainings with what actually happens in real life. Fifth, it builds empathy and inclusion. Reflection helps us understand the impact of our actions on others, supporting EDI by challenging bias and fostering respect. Six, it shapes professional identity. teachers and leaders became more authentic, more grounded, and more confident on who they are. And finally, it supports lifelong learning. It creates a habit of asking, how can I do better next time? In short, reflective practice turns into insight and insight into growth. So let me point out the connection between the reflective practice to EDI. Reflective practice help us to live out equity, diversity, and inclusion. Equity is reflection help us ask who benefits from this decision or who might be left behind. Reflection help us identify unequal patterns so we can act with fairness. Diversity, on the other hand, is reflection where we value differences and challenge our biases. Through reflection, we uncover assumptions and biases, allowing us to appreciate perspective beyond our own. Inclusion is reflection help us intentionally create spaces where all belong. Reflection pushes us to ask whose voices are heard and whose are missing. What can I do as a teacher to make our environment more welcoming? Now we proceed to identity development. Identity development is deeply connected to EDI because a strong positive sense of self, including cultural, racial, gender, and other identities, empowers learners to fully participate and express themselves in educational spaces. When educational environments validate and respect diverse identities, students build confidence and resilience. Simultaneously, educators who understand their own identities in relation to power and privilege can better support inclusive practices. Therefore, when we speak of identity development, we are referring to both learners and educators. Teacher identity develops through the following. First one is personal values and beliefs shaped by upbringing and educational philosophy. The second one is the professional experiences, which refers to classroom successes, challenges, and feedback. Institutional culture is the third, which refers to policies, leadership, and collegial relationships. The fourth one is the social-cultural context rather, cultural expectation, and community engagement. When we reflect on these influences, we became more aware, more intentional, and more inclusive. So, how do we implement reflective practice? For students, we can ask them to do the following reflection journals. We can ask them to make the reflection after the lesson. Exit tickets when you ask them to answer a question before they go out or before they end the lesson, or the takeaway, just like what we have our teacher has been doing us. Self-assessment, peer reflection, and assessment reflection. For teachers, we can have teaching journals, post lesson reflection, peer observation would be of great help, the LAC session, the student feedback, and the data driven reflection. For the school, we can add reflection to lesson plans and assessment so that it is more aligned on what we do with the students. Provide time and training for reflective practice. Promote a culture of sharing insight and continuous improvement. Therefore, to sum it up, reflective practice is the bridge between action and understanding, while identity development is the journey toward becoming a purposeful and authentic educator. Together, they form the heart of professional growth. Teachers who reflect regularly and intentionally evolve not only in the competence but also in character, becoming educators who teach with clarity, empathy, and integrity. So we can say that reflective practice is giving meaning or putting heart into our practice. The educators who reflect regularly will be able to help the students more fully. Thank you, and may we continue to lead with reflection, courage, and compassion.
Good evening, Doc Bellas. I am Mr. Aldrin R. Santander, and I am going to discuss the measuring the impact of teacher EDI leadership. The question is, why measure it? I have here two bullets. The bullet number one is to link teacher practices to student experiences and outcomes. Mahalaga po ito para mapakita kung ang ginagawa ng isang teacher ay directly nakakaapekto sa learning experiences ng students. And the number two is to detect gaps and target support to groups who are underserved. Nakakatulong ito to know kung sino ang mga batang hindi masyadong natutulungan at kung saan dapat mag-focus. Next slide is the recommended measurement framework. There are five. Number one is input indicators. Ito yung mga resources o paghahanda para sa EDI leadership. For example, ilang percent ng teachers ang dumaan sa training tungkol sa culturally responsive teaching. Ilang oras ang binibigay ng bawat months para sa EDI activities. Ang inputs ay tumutukoy sa lahat ng bagay na ibinibigay o ini-invest bago magsimula ang actual na teaching and learning. Number two is the process indicators or mga actual na ginagawa ng teachers sa kanilang leadership sa pagtuturo. Now, for example, nakikita ba sa classroom observation na gumagamit ang teacher ng inclusive teaching strategies? Nagsusulat ba sila ng lesson plans na may adaptation ng iba't ibang learning needs? Or may involvement ba ang parents or community sa decision making? The number three is climate indicators or pakiramdam at perception ng mga bata at staff tungkol sa learning environment. For example, student surveys, kung nararamdaman nilang belong sila sa class, teacher surveys, kung may trust at respeto sa kanilang environment. Ang climate ay tumutukoy sa atmosphere ng classroom at school. Number four is outcome indicators. In outcome indicators, ito po ay mismong result ng EDI leadership para sa students and teachers. For example, tumaas ba ang academic performance ng students? Or bumaba ba ang kaso ng disciplinary actions? Or pantay ba ang attendance ng lahat ng grupo? For example, boys and girls? At ibang-ibang socio-economic background. Ang outcome ay pinaka-result. Number 5 is mediation mechanism checks or pagsusuri kung paano nagkaroon ng pagbabago at anong koneksyon ng leadership sa resulta. For examples, kung napapakita sa research na dahil sa positive classroom climate, mas nag-i-improve ang engagement ng bata. Mas umaangat ang academic performance nila. Ang mediation checks ay parang detective work. Hindi lang siya nagtatanong kung may effect pa, kundi paano at bakit nagkaroon ito ng effect. Kung ang teacher EDI leadership ay nag-improve ng climate, at ito naman ay nagdulot na mas mataas na motivation at achievement ng bata. Makikita natin ang chain of impact. The next slide is about chain of impact. Yan. There are the inputs, the starting resources, the processes, the actions of teachers. The number 3 is climate, is the atmosphere of the classroom or school. Number 4 is the outcomes, the visible results. And the number 5 is explanation how success happened. Kapag lahat ito ay nasusukat, mas malinaw na nakikita kung paano talaga nakaka-apekto ang teacher EDI leadership ng social or school environment sa performance ng isang student. Number 4 is all about the core indicators to track. There are 5 bullets here. Number 1 bullet is the teacher practices. This is the surveys or observation. Sinusukat kung gaano kadalas ginagamit ang inclusive strategies. Number 2 bullet is classroom climate and belonging. The student surveys referrals. Nakikita kung komportable at welcome ang mga bata sa klase. Number 3 bullet is the student outcomes, the achievement, attendance, socio-emotional growth. Kung umuunlad ba academically at emotionally ang mga students. Number 4 is the representation and access, the course enrollment opportunities. Pantay ba ang access ng students sa activities at advanced classes? And the number 5 is the policy and practice change or the new rules or routines. Kung nagbago na ba ang school policies dahil sa EDI leadership ng guro. And the number 5 is by Miss Cristel Zobilano. Thank you so much.
Hi, Doc Bellas and mates. I'm Villano. I'll be tapping subtopics that are just the continuation to what Sir Senator has started. These are methods, some practical steps, and its possible limitations. Based on my researches, I came up with 2 approaches to gauge the teacher EDI leadership. Under each respective approach is at the same time will give a non-biased and an abridged outcome of their leadership as a teacher. These approaches are the qualitative and quantitative. By definition, qualitative methods explore ideas and experiences using non-numerical data to understand why and how, while quantitative methods use numerical data and a statistical analysis answering what and how often. So when considering using or employing mixed methods, it will truly answer a certain query. These are some of the tools that are under the qualitative method. There are open-ended surveys, which include open-ended response sections in surveys asking to describe their experiences, challenges, or successful strategies in promoting EDI. Observations, which observe teachers' instructional practices and interactions to document how they model or facilitate EDI within their classroom and professional learning communities. Interviews, which conduct semi-structured or open-ended interviews with teachers, administrators, and potentially students to gather detailed accounts of EDI leadership practices and their impact. Focus groups, which facilitate discussions with groups of teachers, students to explore shared experiences, perceptions, and collaborative strategies related to EDI leadership. Document analysis, which is relevant among all the review meeting minutes from professional learning communities, school-wide policy documents, or teacher-developed EDI action plans to understand the strategic implementation of initiatives. These methods are crucial as, again, they address complex why and how questions by providing a complete picture of situation and giving a voice to individual experiences. Now here is the other angle or approach, the quantitative. For quantitative methods, I cleave them into 2 categories. They are the teacher performance and qualifications. Some components or indicators of the teacher performance are the student outcomes, which measures through the academic achievement of students, tracing of student growth or improvement over time, and graduation rates that indicates the rate at which students complete their programs. The student engagement, which monitors attendance and participation in tracking assignment completion. The instructional effectiveness, which evaluates the teaching quality through lesson planning, delivery, and classroom environment, assesses instructional planning, classroom management, differentiated instruction, and technology integration. Assessment and evaluation, which evaluates the use of various assessments to guide instruction and monitor student progress, and assesses the teacher's ability to analyze and use student data to inform decisions and implement improvements. While indicators for the teacher qualifications are academic degrees, teaching certifications, pedagogical trainings, and length of service, and I believe these were discussed by Ms. De Ocampo from Group 6 and Ma'am Fostanes on how important professional development sustain the EDI approach in our education. Now, both are necessary to consider for a complete teacher evaluation. A teacher may have excellent qualification but poor performance, or be an effective performer despite a less traditional qualification path. So, as we picture it out now, both approaches are essential as they give us a balanced outcome from gauging the teacher EDI leadership. Now that we have those various methods, we could make a plan. So this is a practical steps to gauge EDI leadership of a teacher. Step 1 is defining EDI leadership dimensions with the stakeholders. It's considering specifying which stakeholders, teachers, students, families, community members, and all, and ensuring marginalized voices are centered, not just consulted. Step 2 is establishing baseline and context, as you need to understand current reality before mapping intended changes. Step 3 is developing logic model. Since you've done with defining what you're measuring, contextualizing factors for the intended purpose, the creation of logic model here gives a clear direction as it helps clarify the theory of change connecting leadership actions to outcomes. Step 4 is selecting validated tools. Here it's better to add pilot testing with diverse participant groups to ensure tools don't just appear culturally responsive but actually function equitably across different communities, since validation is key to avoid bias. Step 5 is designing mixed methods approach with disaggregated intersectional data, which is really crucial since combining both disaggregation and intersectionality is essential for a complete understanding, as it moves beyond a single category like gender or race to show how experiences are shaped by the overlap of multiple factors. Step 6 is as EDI leadership develops over time, so both short and long-term measures are essential. And lastly, strengthen this by making it clear the feedback cycles should influence decision making and resource allocation, not just inform future measurement. The bottom line of these steps is you can't improve what you don't measure, and you can't measure EDI leadership ethically without these cultural responsive, stakeholder centered, rigorous steps. Now, this framework transforms EDI from aspirational buzzword to accountable practice. However, these are possible limitations. I have two down here: attribution problems, which is difficult to isolate a teacher's EDI leadership from broader school climate, administrative support, and systemic factors. Context dependency or matters. What constitutes effective EDI leadership varies significantly across school cultures, student populations, and communities, making standardized measures problematic. So, to sum it up, there must be a clear plan or framework, mixed methods, and disaggregated data that connect teacher practices for long-term success of students. Most importantly, effective teachers must possess qualities like patience, adaptability, strong communication skills, a passion for teaching, and a genuine commitment to student learning. Because I'm going to leave here with what Rita Pearson said: kids don't learn from what people they don't like. Thank you.
For the conclusion, the teacher as an EDI champion. The first one is EDI champion is equals to more than a teacher, a leader, a role model, and a change maker. It is an EDI champion goes beyond teaching. They inspire others, model, respect, and lead efforts to create an inclusive school culture. The second one is teach with fairness, respect, and belongings for all learners. It is to ensure that every student feel accepted, valued, and treated with dignity no matter their background or abilities. The third one is design lessons that reflect diverse stories and experiences. It is use examples, materials, and activities that represent different cultures, perspectives, and identities. The fourth one is commit to continuous growth and professional learning. It is to stay updated on best practices, attend trainings, and improve skills to meet students' evolving needs. The fifth one is collaborate with parents, colleges, and community stakeholders. It is to work together with others to create a supportive network that helps students succeed. Sixth one is face challenges with courage and reflect to improve practice. It is to tackle issues of bias or inequality head on and regularly reflect to grow as an educator. And then the last one is advocate for policies and systems that remove barriers. It is to speak up and support changes that makes education fair and accessible for all students. Let us all remember that equity, diversity, and inclusion are not just concepts, they are actions that teachers must live out every day. Let us all remember that equity, diversity, and inclusion are not just ideas to talk about, but actions we choose every day. When we live these values, we become more than just a teacher. We become leaders, role models, and change makers who inspire our students to dream bigger and respect others.